Welcome back. Another edition of Buy or Sell What the Hell. I'm Jason Jenkins here with Alec and Brennan. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
I'm not sure the episode count.
I
I'm not
think
the
we're
world's greatest intro to
32 or
podcast
33.
boy. Dude, how many?
I think we're at 32 right now.
Nice.
33. No, we're 33.
Well, it's July 17th, and we literally just broke through 6,800, that pivot, and we just had a massive move. This was like, the 2017 type of moves. So you were just asking, Brennan, what do we do? I guess we're going to get all excited and, start hyperventilating. 7,400.
I
It
mean,
looks good. I guess if you're one of the shorts or you're one of these YouTube self-proclaimed gurus that just want to continually just point in the same direction that the market's going, irrespective of anything cyclical, they're still looking for 3,000. So I think we're on the right side of this one. We wanted to be buyers between 6,000 and 5,000. We booked some gains this morning right in front of that 6,800 pivot, and now we broke through. So still like being core long. The bears are obviously going to be hyperventilating.
that's good to see. I think that was a 10% move in about a half an hour.
That's nice.
Isn't it the craziest? For the first time in a long time, Bitcoin's made a price that is actually on a percentage day-to-day basis is greater than a lot of the altcoins.
Wow.
Litecoin up 8%, Ethereum up 6%.
The way I see people taking, I think it kind of delayed where, you'll see that rise in Bitcoin and then people take profits and start spreading that around. I think the vast majority of the, trading is still happening within Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I mean, this is kind of the return to the volume we're used to seeing all of last year. I mean, it was just we've been talking about the volume here the last several episodes. Let's look at it right now. It's probably a better figure end of day. So I think some of the guys here in the chat are trying to. What are they talking about, Alec? Qcoin volume.
I don't know. I can never keep up.
I haven't seen the stream either. Ethers are ripping. Ethers up at 504. Litecoin's got to be following along. It broke through its pivot at 89. Looks like the market's turning. I'll just say that what we talked about in our room today, there's two things. One, I was looking at the volume just on BitMEX, which it's tough to measure volume across because you don't really have a good aggregate when you just try to analyze one exchange. It's obviously not the best, but I think there has been a lot of interest in BitMEX and people trying to short into the lows, just like people are really excited into December. And there was two lows. The June 26th low in BTC was met by pretty heavy shorts. I was looking at the volume on BitMEX, like 70% of the outstanding, whatever if they call them contracts, were short. And then the same thing here happened on the 12th, which was the low of this last move down near like 6,100. You had a huge spike in short interest. So I definitely think we talked about that's always kind of the first. That's the energy to start swinging it back the other way. Is you got to get all the bears trapped. Well, I think that's definitely what we're seeing here. What were you guys' thoughts before we talk cycles?
It seemed like a lot of people, like you said, were shorting, and they got squeezed. I think there was like a $190 million short liquidation happened. I didn't see what exchange it was, but now it seems like a lot of short liquidation happening, and just to squeeze up higher. I mean, it's not going to take much until people start rushing back in. Yeah. They're going to see an uptrend. If this 10% holds for the day, maybe another 5 or 10% move, and I think we're going to hit that same level of euphoria as we did last fall.
Yeah, I'd like to see the volume. When you see something break through, that ceiling, right as you're kissing through 6,800, big candle spikes up on real volume, and those are things I always love to pay attention to. Not necessarily the move, but what was the demand behind the move.
Yeah, that's true. You've been saying that, Brennan. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think I have an accurate reading on the volume right now intraday, but definitely in the next episode we're going to talk about that volume. I mean, percentage-wise, it's not going to take much to be week over week a lot more than it's been the last 3 months. But I could tell you the technicians are all going to have this inverse head and shoulders with the left shoulder was back in June 15th, 14th, 15th. That was 61.76. We made that lower low, call it like 56.50. That was the inverse head. June 29th, that was one of the lows I was talking about where we had a good amount of short interest. And then the right shoulder was here last week at same kind of spot as the left shoulder, 6,100. And then 6,800 on the up was the pivot. So they call that the neckline. For those of you that are trying to visualize that, we're clearly through there. So the next resistance on the up is there's a little bit at 7,800. But then it's kind of clear sailing. I mean, you got the 200 everybody's going to be talking about. That's up at 9,000. Our pie line's up at 9,000. But market looks good here.
And, nothing but good news this whole last week, too. Which I don't know if that just kind of all adds to it until that little, spark that ignited that those liquidations. But, you had BlackRock exploring blockchain, not crypto, but blockchain. Peter Thiel grabbing a part of Block.One. I think it's just kind of adding up all together. But what do you guys think about BlackRock beginning to explore blockchain?
I think that gets me excited, right? I mean, Jason, there's not very many institutions out there that are as large as BlackRock. I mean, to have those guys get involved, I think is equally as important as, Fortune 500 companies looking to build out infrastructure on the blockchain.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we've been saying, hey, these institutions are coming. It's a matter of time. Now they're actually, I think you listen to like Novogratz and Brennan, even some of the relationships that you have that you're talking to, we've had some conference calls and they've been organizing for a while. I think now it's just kind of finally coming out. Maybe a little bit, maybe some kind of, maybe a little bit of pumping that we're having so many good articles down there on the lows, but whatever. People say the same thing on the upside when we roll over. And we have all these negative news on the highs right when futures are expiring, blah blah blah.
What is the futures contract settlement date? Was that today?
Yeah, for this July contract expirations today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when August jumped to being the most active. Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of contracts the next month becomes the most active contract a couple weeks prior. For whatever reason, Bitcoin, it's been like the day of, the day before. I don't think it really matters. Big picture, it's just.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're also seeing, when you're looking at like normal Wall Street behavior, like you're saying, 2 weeks out on a monthly contract starts to get really attractive, and the price starts getting higher, especially when you run into summertime when people are trying to hedge their books, because a vast majority of their team's going on vacation.
Yeah,
not going to have as many eyes on the prize the whole time. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, the news for BlackRock. I think the CEO also went on in an interview talking about they're not looking actively at cryptocurrencies, just blockchain technology, which sounds, pretty ridiculous. But anyway, I mean, it's important. I think it's a hell of a lot of recognition for blockchain, at least. And as those communities kind of grow, the network grows, educate those people. And I think, for one thing at least, I think all their competitors, at the very least, will have a meeting probably today on what crypto is and what their positions are and what their future is. I don't know how that usually works, but if something like BlackRock comes out, I could imagine all their competitors are going to have a meeting the next day about new technology.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's, to your point, Alec. It is kind of goofy that there's so many firms that want to deny the crypto side, or not. They don't want to talk Bitcoin, but then they're all about the blockchain. To me, I mean, you listen to some of these other people in the space, it's like there's one and the same. I mean, if we're not talking open blockchain, decentralized, what are we really talking about? I mean, are all these private companies, they really want to build their own blockchain that hasn't been time tested and the cryptography, and are they gonna really try to do? Are we gonna have all these little private blockchains that aren't open source and decentralized?
I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're kind of just appeasing their clients by exploring exploring blockchain, but they're really just exploring centralized ledger databases, pretty inefficient ones.
Exactly, right.
But I think the key is that they see that they can end up being the ones in control of these ledgers. So they're just appeasing their clients. Obviously, they have demand. I think he said that there's absolutely no clients asking him for exposure to cryptocurrencies, just blockchain. Which that might be the case because that's kind of how it's marketed, blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. But yeah, it's just ridiculous. Well,
I mean,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I guess there's obviously some use for private ledger. I'm sure you could use it plenty within your company. I guess at the end of the day, if we're talking about developing a currency that the world wants to use, that's for the person earning under $2 a day, and you want to develop that type of system to compete with the old system, what's going to have value is going to be the what token is going to have value is going to be the decentralized one for sure, the one that's open source. I mean, Bitcoin's proven that. I think it's going to continue to prove that. So maybe these private blockchains, maybe they don't even have a token, or maybe they do and they realize that people don't think it's that valuable.
I just can't see any reason for such like a private blockchain, other than just appeasing. Their clients want it, and they don't want to have to buy Bitcoin or any other disruptive technology. They just,
right. Or I guess you just pay it and use Hashgraph stuff. Use their software, right? I mean, they don't have a token, do they? I don't even know.
No, I don't even know. I mean, it's all private, so no one really knows.
I mean, he talks a lot about tokens and, cars communicating with poles and paying each other, and the machines paying each other. Oh, I don't know. That's a lot of speculation.
So we also had Peter Thiel too. What I mentioned. What's his background really? I know I've heard his name plenty of times, but
I just know PayPal. I think he's invested in.
Is that really about it? PayPal and
VC funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty early on a couple bigger plans. Is that article read?
Yeah, I think he's pretty involved in every new cutting edge tech out there on the West Coast.
Yeah, but pretty much what he did, if you guys missed the headlines, Peter Thiel and Bitmain both invested into Block.One, which is a company behind launching EOS. So I don't see how this is good news for anyone besides the investors of Block.One. I can't see it. It's not good for anyone that's an EOS fan, because what I imagine is they just raised $4 billion, right? They have an amazingly bad launch, and LiveNet, and then they announced that they still need more money. They're getting more funding on top of that $4 billion, like it wasn't enough. And then the other side, everyone else in the space, not just the people that like EOS, because that's just more money being pumped into the largest marketing machine in the space, right? I don't know.
I don't know.
I can't see it's good for anyone besides the guys investing in Block.One. But
if you're in business and you have a lot of capital, it's gonna make it tough for people to compete with you. So that's a positive.
Yeah, I think it's a really good investment probably for these guys, because that company does one good thing. It raises capital really well.
Yeah,
$4 billion. It's a huge amount of money.
No, I don't even know how I would spend $4 billion. Although I'd be happy to give it a shot. But you'd probably likely see a lot of guys just start consuming. What do big companies do? Is they want to grow into a new space, they just start buying out other companies that are doing it right. So I would imagine that a lot of this money could be spent in similar avenues when they decide as they decide what direction and flow they want their company to grow in.
Yeah. I think the majority of what that $4 billion is to kind of like build the ecosystem around EOS. But I don't know if that's going to be enough. I think it's just kind of the point where they're just going to keep burning through capital until, I don't know, I guess until it's popular enough. I don't know. But
that might work.
Right? I mean, it's working for them right now, right? I mean,
how much weren't they doing a ridiculous amount of transactions? I mean, it's so hard to compare, even if you want to start arguing for Bitcoin Cash to say, oh, look at the transactions and blah, blah, blah. It's like no network has even handled nearly as much interest that, Bitcoin was in November, December, January.
Oh, yeah. I mean, people like throwing that like transactions per second around. It's such a meaningless thing. I mean,
you can't even compare.
Look how many transactions per second PayPal and Visa does.
Right, and then nobody's taking on the same amount of load on the network that Bitcoin does. So of course it's going to slow down when it's busy as hell.
Yeah. I mean, they just compromised decentralization for speed and efficiency. Well, I mean, that's all right as long as people understand that, but I think the marketing's a little iffy on really educating people on that, but that's a whole nother story, I guess.
Yeah. What is the price of that pig? Let's see. I mean, I'm not against it. It's funny to hear the different sides. Yes. I wanted to talk to cycles too. You guys are done with the news. What else did you want to hit out?
I mean, I think it kind of perked your interest. You were telling me about, Brennan, about the exams in crypto.
Yeah, CFA exams now going to be mandatory that they study both blockchain and crypto, which for those of us in the business is a massive positive that there's going to be some proper education and young hungry talent that's going to come to the table with new ideas and structured ideas. Obviously, when you're launching a company that's blockchain or coin focused, having the right legal and accounting team that is passionate about space and well informed about a new space is crucial. So I think this is a massive leg up for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, that's 100,000 plus annual investment professionals being educated on at least exposure to blockchain and crypto.
Yeah, that's nice. It just legitimizes the space, and we've been saying, hey, it's a brand new asset class and this is coming, and then it's nice to see that you don't really have to argue with people about it. I think it's now we got futures, you got this type of headline. I think it's good. It just legitimizes
I think that's good. I mean, there's just so much news to really hit. There's not much to say besides it's all positive, right? Coinbase also greenlighted their list of coins deemed securities. So all those ICO tokens, all those ICOs like Basic Attention, 0x, all those can be now listed on Coinbase, which is pretty big because they're obviously, aiming to become that global leader if they're already not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just more exposure. It's just more exposure to these projects, and I mean, it's just positive news all around, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of news this week. I think from a timing perspective, we got a couple more weeks. The last three little cyclical turns we had around the 2 and 4 week cycles all produced lower highs. So it looks like being through 6,800, coming into this next turning point, which is actually the 24th, I think is going to be pretty big. If we can be still making higher highs and higher lows, then that's probably going to continue into the next cycle, which will be the first part of August. So that's bullish also from a timing perspective. That's kind of what we've been waiting to really see, is let time confirm along with the price making higher highs. That's usually a pretty good setup.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. I mean, do you guys have anything else to hit on? Any of the news? Anything that interested you?
No. I think we've just been busy this week building out our project, Rhythm, moving towards these decentralized exchanges. That's something that we think needs to happen. We've been busy doing that. Brennan, you're going to be traveling here coming up. So we're actually meeting with a lot of more established Wall Street type of firms and contacts that we have from our background. So that'll be exciting. Maybe we talk a little bit about that next week.
Yeah, I think we'll have to. I'll be in New York for at least a week. I'll probably over the next month I'll be on the road, pretty much splitting time between New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. Just expanding the network, talking about Rhythm, and really trying to get it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for some of you guys too, check out the last podcast we did earlier this week. It was a pretty good episode about mining. We'll touch on that a little bit more in the coming episodes as well. That's all I got, Alec, for promotion wise, guys. Just blockEdgeCapital.com is kind of the home base. Like Brennan just mentioned, Rhythm is kind of what we're building out. We're in the private sale, pre-ICO type of rounds right now. What else, Alec?
Well, that's
my Twitter is at the Jason Jenkins, and then you guys will find us on the chat room at the top of Block Edge Capital under education. We've got some of our services listed there, but there's a chat room that leads you right into our group and our community. It's free to join. Come on in there, interact, ask us questions. That's a great way to kind of connect.
Well, we like to keep these nice and short. I never like listening to podcasts that are hour and a half long. I like keeping it about 20, 30 minutes, so it's just about right. Until next time, guys.
All right, good stuff. Talk to you.
Take care, everyone.